Everybody's having a fantastic weekend. Figured I would catch up with you guys and answer some questions that I have been getting kind of touched around a little bit as far as what's the setup for my car to run 10-10, low 10, mid-teens basically all day. How did I do that on 93 octane gasoline? That's been kind of a question. What's the car setup? What's the weight reduction? What else is going on in the car to get the car to run that kind of number? So, figured I would walk you through some of the things that I've done with the car. I'm not going to get into tuning details, but what I will tell you is this. The car is not, first and foremost, tuned for a race gas blend. It's not tuned for Octane blend. It's not on race gas. It's not tuned on race gas or any of that. Because believe me when I tell you that if I decided to run a Octane blend or a race gas blend, or why just do that, cut to the chase and run straight race gas, I'd be able to throw a considerable amount more timing into the thing and actually run a number that is quicker than the 10-10 that I've been accused of quote unquote cheating to get. So let's run that back a little bit. So just so you know that coming into it. In fact, there's so little done to the timing table at wide open throttle or at partial throttle for that matter, that you would be forgiven if you were to see my timing table and immediately assume that it was stock. Aside from interpolations here and there, it's basically the stock timing table. I know that's going to throw a few people off. I'm not trying to throw you off the scent. Yeah, there are some changes, but the changes that I've made are primarily to accommodate the transmission tuning, which is really more the story with this. But anyway, let's get back to the car setup, because I think that has a lot more to do with maybe putting some folks at ease and answering some questions that, quite honestly, I didn't even think I don't think anybody even cared, to be honest with you. Well, I say that right up until, you start seeing guys with all the different weight loss protocols. So let me tell you what my car is. Let me tell you what the mission statement of Chandelier, aka Revlon. Let me kind of get you into the right mindset of why Chandelier, why Revlon, in other words, why that particular car, what the mindset is, and let's get into it. So the car is a 2015 Challenger Hellcat. It is a 2015 that is an early 2015. Birthday on my car is November 19th of 2014. Every part on my car has a 2014 production date of sometime around May or June. So to give you guys an idea, my car, if you're looking at when were they released, would have been among the second big batch of cars that came down the pipe, so to speak. I've only found personally one Hellcat older than mine with a birth date before mine, and that was an October birth date of 2014. So again, mine November of 2014. That's important to note. A lot of folks have said, there's a difference between the superchargers, the 2015 versus the 2016 or 17 and up. The Teflon coating on the rotors is thicker on the later ones. They make more boost, especially if you start to pulley the things. That's really when you start to see the difference. You may not really notice this kind of stuff coming into a stock boost configuration. What I will tell you though, is that my car on data logs will pull lower KPA, which is to say lower boost numbers than 16 and up cars that I've tested or data logged before. So put my car on the dyno versus those cars, there might be a 7 or 8 or 10 horsepower difference between the two at stock boost. So I am, in one respect, handicapping myself in a way, I guess. If you want to use that as a handicap, I really don't. Because let's face it, we're talking about stock boost. not pulleyed cars. Which brings me to my next point. When I got my car, y'all have to remember that I had been in and around these things hip, neck, eyeballs deep in Mopars, primarily Hellcats and 392 combinations, for the better part of over a year. And I had seen all of the use, misuse, and abuse that those Hellcats could take, and that's the reason why I wanted to get one. But it's funny that when you're around all these pulleyed cars, you learn a few things. And one of the things that you learn is that the limitations of 93 octane are, well, they're pretty real. And you can't really go modifying these cars without mixing in race gas. In other words, going with smaller pulleys, things of that nature, or really throwing a tune at them for that matter, without some type of a race gas mix. It's just the way that the timing tables are set up. Hellcats come pretty hot from the factory. Anyway, let me cut to the chase here. When the Demons came out, the Demon was an interesting car because the Demon came in a unique configuration. You could get the Demon with only one seat, the driver's seat, and they had a rear seat delete option. So what I did with my car is I said, well, I can get my hands on a red-eye rear seat delete, and, well, I can remove a passenger seat. And if I do that, then I'm basically in the same configuration that a Demon would be. Couple that with Demon running it on 93 octane, and let me see if I can get close to what a Demon would run basically on 93 octane as delivered as a one-seat configuration. So let me explain what that means. And again, this is a self-imposed rule that I put on myself, but I want to put this out there because folks have accused me of having a pulley on the thing, incognito pulley. The big one is race gas tuned, which I still is. If you only knew how hysterical that is to me, but how flattering it is, but just how silly, because I wouldn't tune it on race gas. I'd go E85 if I was going to do anything with the car. So, and y'all know I'd literally just replaced the stock fuel pump with a stock fuel pump. But anyway, I digress. The setup on my car is as follows. It is as close to mimicking either a Demon or 1320 for that matter. That's another car that you can buy from Dodge with only one chair in the thing. But that is to say, single seat, rear seat delete, Mopar rear seat delete though, not just unbolting stuff and throwing it in the corner. It is a true Mopar rear seat delete. I do remove the speaker box. Why do I remove the speaker box? Well, because you can order the Demon or could order the Demon without the Harman Kardon system, which would mean that the box wouldn't have been back there. So I don't run it. Not to mention the fact I use that space to carry crap to the track. The cooler, drinks, chairs, things like that. But it's more to the point of what I do have on the car. Number one, I do still have the stock bumper supports for whatever that's worth. Some people will say that aftermarket supports, you can remove 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever. Well, I'm not going to do that because the Demon didn't have different supports. Neither did the 1320 for that matter. I'm also still running the factory sway bar. I know this is kind of a point of contention for some guys. They'll go, yeah, it's running everything. Well, we remove the front sway bar. Oh, that's not a big deal. The reason why I'm still running the front sway bar, aside from a minor case of laziness, is the fact that I know for a fact that removing the sway bar, number one, defeats one of the parameters of my rules, which is to have it in an as-delivered fashion of a one-seat Demon or a one-seat 1320. But more to the point, it doesn't really gain a lot. My car will dead hook with that front sway bar still in place, and it's a Hellcat sway bar for that matter. We're not talking about the lighter weight 1320 front sway bar. It is still the stock sway bar. And by all accounts, that thing weighs about 25 pounds. And so what I did is I just started looking at, okay, well, at 130 or 135 miles an hour, depending on how the traps were reading for the night, what does that really equate to? If I'm being perfectly honest, at the end of the track, I would be looking at because if you figure 100 pounds is worth a tenth, I would be looking at 0.025 of a second advantage. So in that 10-10 with a 7, it would have been a 10-10 with a 4-5 if they went that far deep. In other words, no difference in actual ET. And it's really the difference at that speed of about 4 3/4 feet difference at the end of the track. So there's that. But again, to walk you through it, my car is in an as delivered configuration to what a Demon would be if you ordered it one seat, or a 1320 would be if you ordered it with one seat. With one exception, I am running a 309 gear because, well, the Demon comes with a 309 gear. I am running a red-eye drive shaft, which is also the Demon drive shaft, thanks to our friend Multiple Mopar. Well, they run that drive shaft. It's not a lightweight drive shaft. It's not trying to cheat down weight through a drive shaft. It is, in fact, the heaviest of all the drive shaft configurations. So there's that. Suspension mods, I don't have any. I'm literally running all of the factory stuff from 2015. If you want to be technical, it was made in 2014. Front suspension is the same thing, but again, I wanted to mention the thing about the front sway bar because a lot of folks have asked me, am I still running the front sway bar? Yes, I'm still running the front sway bar because that's how the Demon came from the factory. Another funny thing is I've had people ask me, do I still have the windshield wiper motors in place? Or the windshield wiper motor in place, and do I have the windshield wipers on the car, basically? And do I still have the mirrors on the car? Yeah, I do. I would have never thought to remove them. Number one, because, again, the Demon, in as-delivered form, didn't have a windshield wiper removal option. And two, no. If it did, though, yeah, I'd probably remove it. But again, let me go full stop here and tell you the one thing that I am doing that is a departure, and that is running a drag pack wheel and tire setup. The reason why I'm running a drag pack wheel and tire setup is, number one, the Demon came with skinnies, and two, the rule states for stock Demon class that if you replace your NT05s with ET Street Rs, that's fine because that is a consumable part. So it is a DOT compliant, DOT legal tire. If it's got grooves, I'm running them. And ET Street R or DBR, doesn't really matter. It's basically the same tire. One's DOT, one's not. Most of all of my passes have been on ET Street Rs or cut DBRs. So there's that. That makes any difference. But the reality is most guys with Demons that are out there trying to cover a number are actually moving further away from stock wheels and are running ultralight weld wheels, which are basically the weight of a beer can. And if you're not familiar with these things, they're basically about as fragile as an antique thing. And if you run them consistently throughout the course of the year, some of them will even warp. So there are concessions that pretty much everybody has made. But the reality is that a drag wheel and tire setup came on the Demon, and so I'll roll with it. Not to mention most 1320 guys will switch to a drag wheel and tire setup when they're running their cars as well. All of this is important because it brings me to the next topic that I want to get to. But now that I've explained really what I've done to my car, or more to the point, what I haven't done, hopefully I've answered some questions there. The sway bar thing is actually really interesting. It's an interesting question. You guys haven't seen this picture. Hang on just a second. Hang on. Let me just give y'all an idea. Talking about, do I have the sway bar off of the car? I don't think I need to pull the sway bar off the car. This tire right here, if you squint just right, it's just coming off the ground, and the The other side is just barely hanging on to the gravity of Earth by a thread. Wouldn't even think to remove the front sway bar. It's not going to hook any better if I remove the front sway bar. Not at this power level, for sure. Anyway, wanted to show y'all that too. Let me get to you guys, and then I'll get to a little bit of a rant that I'm going to go off on here in just a minute. Nitro Crew, first and second sub B, got the flex. I like it. Sean saying, say what up, beef up, Sean. Chuck is in. Say what's up, what's up. Cody is the 1010 was driver mod. And maybe a little bit of that too. Sean say people always get butt hurt. They don't see the work going in. I say congrats to you. Keep digging. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Chuck saying B sets the examples here and proves it at the track. Thank you very much. Oh, that reminds me. Chuck reminded me of something. So if you want to catch up with me at the drag strip, go to HRP Slips and download the app if you haven't already done it. This year, I'm going to be car number 1182. Last year, I was car number 1122. This year, I am car number 1182. Cody saying B's making it hard not to get a Challenger. Cody saying sub, awesome pass. Thank you very much. Boosted saying, does the Demon have a lightweight battery? No, but technically that is a consumable part. One other thing is I am running a lightweight battery. However, I am running a full-size chassis battery or full chassis battery in my car. I am not running the itty-bitty battery that's about as big as this box, probably weighs about as much too. I'm not running one of those batteries. I'm not running one of the tiny LiPo batteries either. So again, battery's a consumable item. Just the same way that tires are, or really anything, windshield wipers, all of those are still considered consumable items. If you want to replace them with a lightweight unit, you can. If you want to ballast the right rear with a heavier battery, you certainly can do that as well. And I would definitely suggest that for guys that are making significantly more power than I am. Kim saying, great Mopar channel. Thank you very much. Chuck saying 1182. Got it. Oh, yeah, I did go to the drag strip last night. The conditions were abysmal. In fact, if you pull that up, I think I went at 1029 at almost 133 miles an hour. It was so humid though. I ran a 151 60 foot in like 500 air or something like that. You have to pull the time slip up. It's all the data is on there. But on launch, the car actually skated a little bit because the humidity was 91 or 90 something percent. It was cold, kind of chilly, and it was wet. In fact, I looked like there was so much dew and moisture on my car going down the track, going around, through over the glass and on my back glass, that it looked like it was one of those nights where it literally looked like I was in the wind blow portion of a drive-through car wash. You look in your rearview mirror and you can see the water going all like this. That's exactly what it looked like, but at 132 miles an hour. So I looped back around, looked at the time slip. Like I say, the car, it went a 151 60 foot. I tried to draggy the pass. Unfortunately, the draggy thing didn't work. The video portion of it, getting a little bit of that lately, a little bit glitchy. But aside from all of that, I was basically one and done for the night, wrapped it up, and that was all she wrote. But wanted to share that with you guys as well. What a difference a week makes. And that night, it just was not going to be my night at all. Jesse's in. What's up, Jesse? Works with Dr. Diff. Okay, saying, I love the Chargers, but the Challenger's got a soft spot as far as Mopar goes, along with the Ram for sure on that. So, getting back to the chat. So, here's the thing. What I was just talking about earlier, that is the limit to my level of weight reduction. Now, I don't want to turn this into a rant about weight reduction and records and what constitutes this, that, or whatever. My goal here is really more to inform and kind of give you guys my philosophy as far as how I built my car and the reason why I'm not going to do anything else to it. I have proven with a 2015 Challenger on stock boost with 93 octane gasoline in the tank. Oh, by the way, the amount of gas that I was running, just a tick under half a tank. I tried to keep it right around that half a tank range. Does two things. One, I'm ballasting weight. I'm not trying to cheat the weight down with the car. And two, the car launches really hard so that when that fuel sloshes back, you don't want to get a fuel yip. But more to the point, and I'm trying to keep the race weight as close to like 4,400 pounds as I can get it, like 4,370, 4,380, 4,400, right around in that range. So there's that too. I want to make sure that was out there. With the seat in the car and with 3/4 of a tank of gas, the weight of the car with me in it is almost always 4,430 is like the number. So with the amount of gas, the seat, no speaker box or whatever, you're looking at like 4430 or 4440 and then like 4370, I guess. What was it? 4370? Yeah, 4370, 4380, trying to get as close as 4400 as I could. And that was just an arbitrary number. It's like, that sounded good. But here's the thing. It's mainly to give the philosophy of why I'm doing this. Oh, also, still running the stock Hellcat brakes. I keep remembering certain questions, so sorry if this gets a little bit out there. But the other question was, am I running lightweight brakes? Lightweight brake? No, I'm not running. These are the factory, the stock brake. I painted the calipers, if that makes any sense. I mean, my Brembo calipers were starting to get a little bit Valentine's card looking pinkish. I mean, we're starting to get a little bit like that, but no, I am still running the stock brakes. So legit question though, because there's about a 40 odd pound or a 30 odd pound weight savings, I believe, if you really wanted to try to start cutting weight. But no, I'm still running the stock factory Hellcat brakes. I am running the Z26 pads though. Does that matter at all? Good pads, by the way. But that's the philosophy behind my car, was to basically demon correct a Hellcat and just see how fast it would go. And come to find out, it goes about as fast as a demon goes on pump gas. Weird. And the demon has lighter weight brakes, but it has the same stuff everywhere else. You can talk about the axles being better or whatever, maybe, but it's basically a demonized Hellcat. And demonized Hellcat with just regular old 2015 blower boost is every bit as quick as a demon on 93 octane. If nothing else, it is nipping at its heels. To further that point, to further that point, I believe the red eye record on 93 octane is something like a 1007 or something like that. Something along those lines anyway. So I'm basically as fast as a red eye with a Hellcat with a scat pack rear end and a few parts bin parts from Mopar. But the idea again was just to demonize a Hellcat, see how fast it would go. And figured out that a demonized Hellcat, even making less boost, is just every bit as fast for practical purposes as the demon. But what if I were to change my mind? Think about this for a minute. With everything that I just got through saying, stock bumper supports, stock brakes, stock driver's seat, red-eye drive shaft, these are all heavy components. These are all components that if I removed the driver's seat and put a lightweight seat, I could save 20 pounds. Put a set of lightweight bumper supports in the car, that's 40 pounds. Now I'm up to 60 pounds. Different set of brakes, call it 20 pounds. Now we're up to 80 pounds. Remove the sway bar, that's 25 pounds. Now that's over 100 pounds of weight reduction. Is that enough? If I remove the windshield wiper motor, which I have seen guys do along with all the contraption and the wipers, that's probably 15 pounds. That's another, that puts you at, what are we at right now? Who's tallying this up? 135 pounds? I'm just looking at the car right now. What about the mirrors? I've seen that get removed. 7 pounds? So again, you start backing this thing into a corner as far as how much more weight you can take off of the car. Is it still the car? Is that still the same car? I mean, really, the way I started looking at it was, if I remove the sway bar, and I know this is going to sound out there, guys, but just walk with me on this. Knowing the philosophy behind the build of this car and why that is actually kind of special to me. Think about this. If I remove the sway bar, which is now taking it wholly away from being an as-delivered option, that is a race modification, okay? That is a modification that has no other benefit to the car other than racing. I can make an argument that putting lightweight wheels and tires can be an aesthetic. The bigs and littles, fats and skinnies, that's an aesthetic, right? Yeah, you get some benefit from it maybe, but it's more of an aesthetic, and it's still street legal and you can drive it on the street that way. But the sway bar is something that you can't see. The bumper supports kind of fall in line with this a little bit too. It's a modification that you can't see. A lighter weight set of brakes, kind of the same thing. But the sway bar was the one that really ticked it off for me. It's the one that got me rolling with this thought experiment. And this turns into that ship of Theseus thought experiment. If you're not familiar with what the story or the parable of the ship of Theseus, just Google it. I ain't gonna tell you how to spell it, just voice it, ship of Theseus, and look it up. It's an interesting ancient thought experiment. And basically it's the same as the grandfather's axe thing, where it's how many parts of something can you remove and replace and have it still be considered the same thing. In other words, we'll go back to this picture again. If I remove the bumper, the headlights, the grille, the hood, replace it with carbon fiber, put carbon fiber doors, beer can rims, which we already talked about in the deal, but what if I remove the mirrors, replace the glass with Lexan, replace the windshield and the back glass with Lexan, carbon fiber top, carbon fiber deck lid, remove the spoiler altogether, remove the exhaust, have it just dump right after the cats if possible, remove the sway bar. At what point is the car no longer the same car? And we haven't even talked again about, so we're going to remove the windshield wiper motors. What about removing the door cards and the window motors? What about removing the dash? What about removing the console? Get all the carpet out of there, get the headliner out of the car, get all the sound deadening out of the car. Basically reduce this thing to just nothing but a shell and wires, make it look like freaking stuntman Mike's car off of Death Proof. Is that still the same car? Would you consider that the car? Would you even consider any number that car would run a record because it's not really the same car anymore? This is the question that I had to ask myself. And for me, if I remove the sway bar and just drove the car to the track and drove it like that, then I haven't done enough. I haven't done enough weight reduction because that's not the limit of what would be available for me to do. Getting back to talking about the car, I could then remove the mirrors, remove the sway bar's already gone, remove the stock bumper supports, go with the lightweight bumper supports, lighter weight brakes. But if I only did that, then I wouldn't have gone far enough because the carbon fiber hood is available. The carbon fiber fenders are available. The carbon fiber doors are available. The carbon fiber roof is available. The carbon fiber rear deck lid is available. Removing the spoiler is available because that's free. All in an attempt to lose weight. But have I gone far enough yet? I don't know. 15-inch conversion. Lose some weight in the rear there. Go with super ultra lightweight wheels. Bias ply all the way around. Race seat. Again, we've already stripped everything out of the interior. At this point in the game, we've probably removed somewhere between 600 and 700 pounds out of the car. Is it still the car? If I were to pile all of those parts up that I removed and replaced, presumably with lightweight parts, I would have a pile that's basically as big as the car sitting right next to it. So again, my thought on this is if you're going to start removing weight and use that as, well, this is just race prep. Well, if you're telling everybody that it's just race prep and that's what you're doing, then great, because that is what is driving all of the records. Most of the guys that are going after hardcore records, hard to get records, are going at it through the process of disassembly, heavy weight reduction. You have to be able to run those kind of numbers. It's power to weight ratio. This isn't a game where there's rules, and it can't make anybody upset that they didn't go the extra mile that somebody else did in the interest of weight reduction. In other words, you can't holler sour grapes, and I can't holler sour grapes if somebody goes, well, yeah, but I've got carbon fiber door skins and Lexan and all this other stuff that I was talking about earlier, and my car runs half a second faster than yours. How do you have a record? Well, that's a good point. The way that I have a record is that I look at it from the point of view of an as-delivered vehicle that Dodge sells. That is street legal. Not a body in white, not a super stock, pro stock, this stock, that stock, whatever. I'm talking about a street legal car here. And so that is the self-imposed set of rules that I went by. But then I got thinking about it a little bit more. If that's all you've done to the car, which is buying all the carbon fiber body works, removing the windshield wipers, removing this, everything that's not necessary for getting that thing down a drag strip, well, I mean, what if, just walk with me on this, what if we change something in the driveline? Now that's a pickle of a thought, isn't it? See, we've been assuming stock driveline, stock engine, or at least stock block, but we're also assuming stock transmission, NAG1, HP70, HP90. What if we decided to go with a turbo 400? Does that throw another wrench into this whole thing? What if we've stuck with the stock block, but now the engine's a stroker motor? 411, 426, 440, 454 stroker. Well, I mean, you're going to call that out, right? You're going to say, okay, well, now I'm a stroker motor. This is what I'm doing. I'm outright all in, all out, right? Okay. So if you're outright all in and you've got carbon fiber everything, you've reduced the thing to a shell, you've got the biggest engine you can get in the car based on a Hemi engine, but you've got a turbo 400, which is a GM transmission, maybe you are, maybe you aren't running the stock 8.8 rear axle, and you go out there and have some fun with the car. Cool. But just for the sake of argument, are you limited to the Hemi engine? What if, and I know, blasphemer here, but to go along with your GM transmission, what if you went with, I don't know, 430 cubic inch LS based combination in your Challenger? Twin turbo. Hit it with about 3 different stages of nitrous. Hit it with a $150, a $150, and a 2 bill. You know, the standard, real deep, nasty, fast combinations package. Get you around 2,800 horsepower. Is that still Mopar? Like, can you still claim that? I mean, you've already got a GM transmission. Is the engine what really designates Mopar? Let me also walk you back through this thought experiment. Remember when everything that I was telling you that we're taking off the car, we're replacing with something? Remember that part of the little chat? Well, what nobody really thought of is, Where do those parts come from? They're not Dodge parts. They're not factory from Mopar. Where do they come from? Well, probably somewhere else. Hopefully they're made in the States. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe they're made in a factory in China. So now my made in North America, at least, Challenger with parts from Mexico and America going to Canada for assembly. It's still North American, but I mean, let's be real, it ain't Mopar. If you've got Chinese fenders, Chinese hood, Chinese roof, Chinese trunk, where were the wheels made? I don't know. Where's all the rest of the stuff made? I don't know. But it's not Mopar anymore. So what's the difference? If I start taking parts off of my car and replacing them with aftermarket parts that aren't Mopar, is it still Mopar just because it was made for a Mopar? I don't know. So now we've got parts made in China, presumably, on a car that was built in Canada. Still Mopar though, but we've got a different engine, different transmission in the thing. What if you did a Ford 9-inch swap in the back? Holy shit. Okay, so now we've got a 9-inch Ford in the back. We've got a GM transmission with a GM engine up front. And the only thing that's still left of this thing that's Mopar is the unibody portion of it. The thing that is the shape of a Challenger. Because remember, we've replaced everything that we could with carbon fiber. So the skins are all made elsewhere, ain't Mopar, but the innards of it are Mopar. Frankenstein ain't got this many parts from that many people. So again, it's walking you through this thought experiment of, look, if I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound, but I'm going to be that in for a penny, in for a pound within a very specific set of guidelines. Because to me, the second that I remove that sway bar, I better have a container load of parts sitting there waiting to go on the car and waiting for me to fill with parts coming off the car. Because if you don't, you just haven't done enough. You haven't committed to the cause. Anyway, let me catch up with, let me catch up with you guys real quick. Gary, thank you very much. Man, I appreciate that. He said, this is for rising fuel prices and inflation. Got the flex going on. I like it. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate the contribution, buddy. Man, I really do. Thank you so much. And it will definitely be going to good use. It'll be going to, it'll be going to gas for the car, for the track. So thank you very much. Let's see. Let me catch up with you guys real quick. Hang on. Here we go. Cody's asking, can you use a similar setup on a Challenger RT and Scat Pack? Well, you're kind of already there, really, with the Scat Pack. But yeah, it'd be the same thing. Just pull the passenger seat, put a lightweight set of wheels on it, and you're pretty much there. Cody's saying, remove the carpet. Yeah, but to remove the carpet, I'd have to remove the console, and don't want to do that. But good point. Oh, yeah, and I did remove the floor mats. That used to be a rule, though, if I remember correctly. You had to do that. Chuck saying, smash that like button. That's right. Give it the people's elbow. Boosted saying, I refuse to take any weight out of my car. It weighs 4,700 pounds exactly with me in it. Ding. I know, these barges are heavy. Love them for it, though. Gary saying, what up, B? Got the flex. What up, Gary? Kobe saying he's heard of people removing exhaust. Yep. Kobe saying, I'm at 4,600 with me in it. Yep. Chuck saying, you'd be making it a full race car. Well, that's kind of the point of this, is that, yeah, you're making it a full race car. But the thing is that you would have to make it a full-on race car. Like, once you start getting to a certain point, there ain't no turning back. You've got to either make it a full-on race car or put the thing back to stock. Ted saying, I'd remove the sway bar, the passenger seat, rear seat only. It will look like the same car in the picture. It would, but to me, the sway bar thing, again, it goes against the rule. and again, the rule, and this is just my own self-imposed rule, is that I was mimicking the as delivered, albeit with crate, but as delivered configuration that you could get a Demon with. And again, they came from the factory with the sway bar. Now, if people were removing sway bars, things like that, that's fine. But thing is that when Ray, I was with Ray and I helped get his car set up when he ran the 978 in as delivered form with the Demon. That's on Sunoco 260 GT. And the car still had the sway bar in it, and we didn't do anything else to the car, to be honest with you. That was on NT05s, by the way. Cody's out, saying got to head back to work. See you in the next one. See you, Cody. Have a good one, bud. Mark saying congrats on the 10-10. Thank you. Shane saying checking in from cold and rainy Barry, Alabama. I love Alabama. Sounds to me like you have been getting things done in that Dodge Hellcat, sir. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you, buddy. And again, Gary, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Chuck's asking, is Dodge coming out with a 5.25 horse V6 engine to replace the 6.2 and 6.4, or just gossip? I heard it'd be called the Tornado. It's actually an inline 6 turbo. I will see where that ends up going, but it won't be in this particular platform. It'll be in the next platform, is my understanding. Chuck saying Marspeed said something about it. Yeah, what was it? RT Life had mentioned something. It's been, oh God, it's been about a year ago. We started talking about this engine. God, when was it? It was a couple of years ago, but it was primarily for the truck, and it was in development. And I was all, yay, because I love inline 6s, and I love inline 6 turbos even more. Callus is asking, do you plan on doing a pulley swap, or do you plan on keeping it stock? Plan on keeping it stock. Do not want to go with a different pulley on my car. I miss Ted's. Ted said a 999 looks better than a 10-1 any day, and shallow stage as much as possible. It does, but if I'm a 999, yeah, it's a nice goal, especially stock boost and especially with 93 octane. It's a nice goal, but here's the thing. I want to do it with me driving. See, one other thing we haven't talked about is what would happen if I were to put my wife behind the wheel of that car? Think about that for a minute. My wife weighs almost exactly half as much as I do. I check in about 220. My wife's about 110 pounds. That's a tenth, right? If that's a tenth, that would have been a 10.007 if she would have been driving the car and shallow staging it. So, it's one of those things where you just go, oh yeah, there's that aspect of it. Maybe if I mixed in a salad every once in a while, I could pick up the extra tenth of a second. Or at least whittle it down a little bit. Anyway, food for thought. No pun intended. Cal's asking, what about Z's Hellcat? Runs in the 7s, but not factory engine or transmission. Is it still a Hellcat? Yeah. I mean, you got to look at it like that. But here's the fun thing about Z's car. Z's car still is running the 8-speed. It's still obviously a Hemi. He's still running the stock rear gear, stock rear suspension. Maybe not the rear gear. I think he's still running 309. But he's still running the stock rear suspension. But you're right. There's nothing left of the car on the interior, and you've got all the brakes and everything else are different. So, again, where does it stop and where does it start? Obviously, Z's car running a 788 through an HP90 transmission, throwing all the power you can throw at it and then some, through a factory rear gear, yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. So there's that. And again, in the game that he's playing, that's a race car game. And let's not mistake street car for race car. And I think that's where a lot of guys get a little bit confused. They mistake race car for street car, and you lump them together, and that's real sketchy to do, because there's a lot of street cars that really should be race cars, and there's a lot of guys that race street cars that I really wouldn't call that a race car. So there's that to consider, at least, if nothing else. But yeah, Z's car, still a Hellcat. It looks like a Hellcat. In fact, Z's car, realistically, you could throw everything back in the interior, throw street stuff on the thing, and probably drive it. I don't know how much fun it would be, but you know, just, it's a rowdy ass car. It runs sevens, for crying out loud. So, but yeah, it's definitely still a Hellcat, but it's a race car. Definitely not a street car. Sovereign, hey, what's up, buddy? Saying, hey, be stopping in for a moment, dropping a like. Peace. Good. Thank you, brother. Sovereign saying, smash that like button. You would a pedal commander do it? Oh, dude, yeah, pedal commanders are fun. And that's, so one of my long-time favorite old school mods for these fly-by-wire cars was always pedal commander, because, you know, now you got pedal commander, pedal box, pedal this, pedal that. Anyway, there's a lot of different pedal signal intercept devices that you can get for these cars that make them really kind of fun to drive on the street. So, you know, there's that at least to consider. Now, you can get one of those things and, you know, kind of dial in the attitude that you want your car to have, which is pretty fun, and it won't void a warranty. You can always just remove it. But getting back to it, guys, the main thing that I wanted to talk about was, what I wanted to do really was to give you guys, or give folks that may have had a question about how the car was set up, not only the setup of the car, so there's that, but the setup along with the build philosophy of the car. And again, yeah, could I build something faster? Could I build this thing faster? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to do. It's actually a pretty easy destination to get to with these Hellcats. If you wanted to go faster, in fact, it's a super easy combination. If you want to go real fast, it's take one chandelier, upgrade the fuel system, twin pump, E85, 127 pound injectors, 275 upper, 10% lower, hit it with 150 or a 200 shot. And that's it. There's your 920 combination that you could conceivably just have as a street car. And it wouldn't be any deviation from the way that the car is set up. In fact, it would run those numbers with the seats in the car. And with aggressive weight reduction, you would get the thing down into the high eights, to be honest with you. And again, yeah, it's a lot of money in a way to get it there. But now it really is a race car by many estimations. And that's really not what I want to do with my car. But for those that have done it that way, it's basically a garden variety, super easy way to drag one of these things into the high eights or low nines without too much muss or fuss. In fact, with a 265 upper and a stock lower pinned, of course, with a 200 shot, I've seen that combination go 19s and 920s, albeit in a car with some weight reduction. But still, the idea is still there. You're knocking on the door of eights with basically the same type of hot rod tricks you put on a Fox body Mustang, aside from the fuel system. But hey, that's just a fuel pump and injectors away, and you do that on a Foxy anyway. So again, it's the idea of keeping it simple. Can you do it? Yeah, you can do it. But if I were to do it, that's the route that I would probably go. Or I would go upper, lower pumps, E85 on a 2018 or a 2019, drag the weight down as far as I could with the bumper supports and with a lighter weight brake package, and get a car that's running basically 940, 920 on boost only. But then that's not an 8-second pass. And the other argument to this, guys, you got to remember, I've driven, worked on, tuned, whatever, owned extremely fast cars. Heads, cam, intake ported by yours truly, nitrous Gen 2 Vipers, Kuntz & Company 427 with the T-trim, with the 100-shot Cobra Mustang. Had a TKO in it. That's the car that I would literally bend the output shaft on the TKOs. And that was a roll race car, by the way. So is the Viper, basically. Yeah, the Viper, I would hit, in later stages of the Viper's career, it was getting hit with a single stage 300 shot. Superformance, big block, Mark III Cobra. A lot of stuff that by today's standards wouldn't hold a candle to some of the 2K cars, but for their day, super fast, and if nothing else, sketchy as hell at high speeds, which these things were definitely capable of. But once you start getting into that 1,000 horsepower, 11 horsepower range, the fun stops. And that's the other side of the story that I wanted to tell. Because believe me when I tell you, I've, again, seen, driven, tuned, driven for guys at the drag strip. Don't forget, that's part of what I do still is if somebody needs a car to run a number, I will drive it. All of these cars, there's nothing that's going to surprise me about a car that runs 940, 930, 910, 960s, 980s, 1020s, 1150s. It doesn't matter. It's all fun to me. But that's the thing. When you get into the roughly 1,000 or 1,100 or in some cases 1,200 horsepower to the flywheel, these are cars that on a Mustang dyno would make 810, 830, 850, up to 920, 940 to the rear wheels. It stops being fun. The fun really is over with if you're still trying to make that a street car that runs at the drag strip. The fun level, the real fun level, is at about a 960 or a 970. That car is still fun, but practically useless on the street, at least with the Hellcats, because you start rolling into the throttle and they just have this cute little thing that they like to do, which is turning tires into smoke just while you're cruising down the road. All that positive displacement supercharging doing its thing. But they're a lot of fun to drive, and they're really satisfying to drive, and they are sketchy, but they're still livable. But I wanted my car to just be fun. And what you have to remember is the car that gave this car gave me the motivation to put this combination together was the Demon that I was testing and doing all the testing with there for about a month. And the Demon, if you've never driven a Demon or you've never driven a red eye with a 309 gear, you are missing out. The Demon / red eye 309 gear combination is the happiest car on the road to drive. It's like having a big puppy. It has no idea how big it is. It just knows that it wants to go somewhere fast all the time. Any throttle input is like when you do that to your dog. Like, what are you doing? Let's go. It's like that. It was the funnest, happiest car that I had ever driven. And I couldn't afford a Demon. There wasn't a red eye at the time, but I knew that I wanted to replicate that car. And this is what I did with my car. I was able to replicate, in essence, with a Hellcat, everything that a Demon does. And so for that, I was pretty stoked. I mean, I've got everything that I could ever want in the car with no reason to throw more pulley at it. Because, like I've said earlier, if I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. And if I start going that deep with the car, I'm going to want to go even deeper still. And again, I'm not going to want to stop at 950s, 930s, 9 teens A 9-second pass is adorable, but 9s are the new 11s these days. 10s are the new 12s. You know what that means, and you know exactly where I'm going with this. The new 10-second car, the new fast car, is an 8. 8s are the new 10s. The preposterous 8-second time slip, well, guess what? You have to be running 8s to at least be considered competitive, at least if you go by what the YouTubes and the internets would allow you to think. So why wouldn't I go that route? And by the way, if you think that I'm just blowing smoke, I'll just offer you to go no further than to look at any Tesla Plaid that's out there running 940s or 920s and with weight reduction is running high 8s. You can already see where this trend is going. And with all the EVs that are coming around the bend, well, just get ready, because the idea of what fast was is about to get thrown out the window. And if guys like me start getting access to A2 files and start working with guys that can decipher that and get tuning solutions in play, torque management, what torque management? Slicks all around, instantly throwing torque to the ground. You're going to have half shafts that are about as big around as your freaking calf. You're going to need them because all that torque is going to be hitting those tires from 0 RPM. So yeah, if you think 8s are the new 10s, get ready for 7s to be the new 10s. It's coming. And I ain't going to be a part of that, because I'm still going to be having a ball in the kiddie pool running mid to low 10s with my couldn't be any happier Hellcat. So let me check in with you guys. What did I do to the feed? Thing just went flying. Ted's asking, red eye converter. No, I'm running the stock Hellcat converter. And I'm a little bit wondery about the Hellcat, the red eye converter. Let me give you my thoughts on that thing. I know that in the catalog it says it's got better torque multiplication and everything else, but one thing I do want to mention is the Red Eye / Demon has a larger supercharger, and they do 60 foot a little bit better than the Hellcats do gear for gear, and they should. They make more power down low than the Hellcat does, unless you really have the Hellcat pulleyed up. And in that respect, the Hellcats will run low 140, high 130, 60 foots. So boost for boost, the converter doesn't seem to be any different. At least it didn't act any different. I don't know where there's a benefit for running the Red Eye converter, because from what I have seen, again, boost for boost, weight for weight, if you've got a Red Eye and a Hellcat, both of them running, well, factory for the Red Eye 14 pounds and the Hellcat running 14 pounds, they're gonna be neck and neck, and the Hellcat might actually get out on the Red Eye. Granted, that's tuned versus a Red Eye, but there's some things in that Red Eye tune that are actually more aggressive than the things that you would change in the Hellcat tune. So anyway, I digress. No, I'm still running the Hellcat converter, and I'm not convinced that there's enough of a benefit to the Red Eye converter to make the switch. I will be happy to be proven wrong, or at least educated further on that. I just haven't seen it at the track. Catalyst is asking, am I using the stock driver's seat or using a lightweight race seat? Using the stock driver's seat. Definitely not using a lightweight seat. Hillenmode's asking, hey, B, do you have a favorite generation of Corvette? I have, yes. I have, in no particular order, my favorite Corvette, damn. Okay, so here's how I would break this down. I love first gen Corvette. 61 and 62 are my favorite from an aesthetic point of view. From a modified from stock, though, point of view, I like those cars a lot, but they're limited for what you can really do with them, because the frame is a little bit bendy and you just want to limit it to about 3.5 to 400 horsepower. Favorite Corvette to drive. That's a little bit different story. C2, 66, 67, or yeah, probably a small block 66 or 67 would be my choice for favorite to just flat out drive. But you would be replacing the 66 or 67 Corvette steering wheel with the later, also found in the Pontiac Le Mans, C3 steering wheel. 67 is about this big around. The C3 steering wheel is just smaller. Gives you a little bit more leg room, a little bit more hip room. My favorite Corvette, one of my favorite Corvettes was one that I owned, which was a 93 C4, obviously. Basically, it was a Barbie edition, black with gray interior. I kind of would like to get that car back. I loved driving it. It wasn't fast. That wasn't the whole mission statement behind that car, though. I loved to pull the top off of that thing and just cruise it. Cruising that thing down the freeway, doing beltway runs and things like that in that car was really just super chill. All of that being said, my favorite Corvette outright to drive, if I were to live with a Corvette, would be a C7 Z06. So in order of my favorites, favorite to drive outright, C7 Z06. Preferably with a tune and a pulley. But C7 Z06 reminds me a whole lot of my Vipers in that configuration. Favorite heartstring puller is going to be, just from a looks point of view, 1970 C3 with a big block. That would probably be like the one that I would be attracted to the most. And if I had all the money in the world, a Resto Mod 62, properly done though, with a lot of chassis support. And that's just because the way the thing looks. But that would be a whole lot more satisfying to want than it would be to have. The C3 would be kind of like trying to go home. You know, they say you never can go home. And so for me, the one that I would marry would be the C7 Z06. Manual transmission. Oh, Chuck's saying Forza is making 1,100 horsepower with their Stage 4 builds on a Demon. Not sure how much it lowers the ET, but it looks impressive. Yeah, seriously, lots of difference in ET with that. But it's a lot more car once you start digging that deep into them. So we're saying internal combustion engines. Callis is asking, is it fair to say the Red Eye is really what the Hellcat should be? I'll say this. The Red Eye is... the Red Eye is scared to death of what the Hellcat can be. The Hellcat, you almost buy it for the potential. Even though with a Red Eye, you can literally, with a Red Eye, swap injectors, run it on E85 with an E85 tune, and go out there and run nines. That's what you can do with that car. Thing is, you put a different fuel system in a Hellcat, put a 309 gear in it, put the injectors in it, tune it on E85, and it also runs nines. And that's at stock boost. That's not even at an elevated boost number. You got to remember, E85 record is in the nines for stock boost. And that's not even like really leaning on the thing in terms of weight reduction. Just saying. So let me tell you what I like about the Red Eye though. If you tune a Red Eye and get rid of all the heat nannies that are in that thing, then yeah, it's the next logical step from the Hellcat. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know why the Hellcat is still in production with the red eye being out there. In fact, if the Hellcat wasn't there, you could just basically reduce the cost of the red eye and have the red eye be the Hellcat, which is actually what I thought they were going to do. I'm being perfectly honest here. So I just kind of, like, you look at it from that point of view, and the Hellcat is almost like a legacy platform at this point. But you do a little sprinkle of this and a dab of that, and it does everything that the red eye does. You got to remember, the red eye is not that different from the Hellcat, with one big difference being the fact that the Hellcat tune is just hotter than the tune is from the red eye from the factory. But a bit of a trivia thing on this, throwing timing at a red eye doesn't just lift up numbers on that thing. Red eyes are kind of weird. When I say that my Hellcat is not really timing sensitive, that is to say that if, because of conditions or whatever, looking at a data log, if I'm throwing an extra degree or two of timing at the thing, going down the drag strip, it really won't run a different number. The same thing is what we found with the red eyes and the demons on the dyno. You could try to timing correct them to Hellcat numbers, and it just didn't really seem to matter. Picking up power with just a tune on a red eye, we were doing, fueling sweeps, timing sweeps with these things. Just going, I don't understand why are you going? So anyway, that was kind of weird, but yeah. Now you start switching up fuels and really leaning on the thing with timing, and that's where things can get a little bit different. So there's that to consider, if nothing else. Oh, Sovereign saying 68 or 69 for me. The 69 is actually the better year of the two. And the reason for that, the 68, the frame is in essence the same as the 67, and they twist a lot. The 69 has frame strengthening. There's some things done to the frame to make it torsionally more stiff. But I know that in my dad had a 69 big block convertible, and going over railroad tracks, if you went over them kind of sort of sideways, the frame would twist and it would pop the side of the hood open. So yeah, there's definitely some twist to the C3s. The C4s, they're a lot stiffer torsionally than a C3, and you really don't get a sense for that until you drive one. Here's what I'll say about the Vettes, though. You got to be, if you're in the market for Corvettes, you got to be insanely detail-oriented. C3 Corvettes have the frames of them. You got to remember, the body is fiberglass, but the frame is still metal, and they rust like you would not believe. So take that with a grain of salt. Don't just buy one because it looks pretty. That thing could be a death trap. Chuck saying his best time was a 13.0 in the quarter, but whatever. My RT shaker is ridiculously fun, and that's all that matters. And looks and sound 6. B helped me shave down my times with shifting technique, nittos, and a pedal commander. Very cool, man. And that's all that matters, is the fun part. Kobe's asking, what are your temperatures you're running before making a pass, transmission, oil, etc.? I like to try to get my engine temp to be around 165 to 170 coming into the burnout box, or at least exiting the burnout box. But I prefer for my transmission temp to be at least over 130 degrees. Oh, Hilton saying awesome answers. C7 Stingray is his favorite. It's the ergonomics in that car, just so good. Heel toe downshifting is super easy. I mean, it's just a really fun car to drive. Someone's asking, isn't the red eye using a Demon block versus the Hellcat? It's all the same BGE block. It's just different internals, namely pistons, really, for the red eye versus the Demon versus the regular Hellcat. That's not something you want to get too roped into. The better pistons, though, do allow for higher RPM, but guys have been running real high RPM with stock Hellcat rotating assemblies. So but here's the thing: the Demon and the Red Eye, they do have better pistons, and there were some that would say that if you ran the Hellcats over 6,800 RPM, 6,900 RPM, that if you did it regularly, I mean, buzz one up every once in a while, it's not going to affect it in the least. But if you were to do it regularly under considerable load, especially like on the 3-4, 4-5 shift, that you could potentially sting a piston because of that. But you'd never see that unless you were turning the RPM, and unless you were turning the RPM under significant load. I've seen Hellcats with, I can't even bring myself to think of how many passes, much less wide open throttle hits on the highway, with well over 1,000 horsepower on stock short blocks, shifting no higher than 6,500 RPM, that are happy as the day that they were born. So, you know, is the extra 300 RPM worth it? Depends on how hard you're hitting it, but not really, not necessarily. But from a technical standpoint, yes, they are better. Sorry, I didn't know that. 69. Yep, that's very true. Yeah, there is a difference with the frames between the two cars. X saying, what up, Professor? What up, X? Got the flex. I like that. X saying he got himself some Boostane and is going to use it to help with fuel quality like you talked about in previous shows. So, X, hang on a second. Let me get this pulled up for you. Here we go. What I want to do for you again is to, and you can go back and just pause this to where you can get your ounces per gallon. This way you can pause that, do a screenshot, and that'll give you, this will be your cheat sheet for your Boostane advertised, I should say, but your Boostane advertised octane equivalencies, the amount of ounces per tank of gas, half tank really in this case, or per gas jug that you're messing with. So anyway, that way that'll help you. You can go in and say, okay, man, I want to have, you know, I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to do basically a fuel quality mix, which I would say would be like your 98 octane mix, or, you know, a 96 octane mix, I should say, sorry. That's where you mix like 3 ounces to, you know, 10 or 2 ounces to 10 gallons. You can go as high as 3. That's just basically to correct for fuel quality if you wanted to do that. But anyway, hopefully that helps you in the process of getting that stuff mixed up. Callis is asking, is the Dodge Omni the worst Mopar of all time? No, actually, the Omni's a cool car, man. Look, cars like the Omni get so maligned, but man, you talk about fun. So it's a lot more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is to try to drive a fast car fast, much less drive a fast car slow. Omnis are cool, and dude, if you're somebody to show up with a GLH, I would jump on that thing quickly. So I like those little cars. What's the worst Mopar ever? The thing is even the worst Mopars helped the company survive, and, you know, because of that, now we have the Hellcat and, you know, all of that. But the K car, I mean, could have had a little bit better styling, I guess. But it did what it did. It did what it was supposed to do. So anyway, X is saying, I appreciate it, no problem. X saying, just took one. I guess he's talking about the screenshot. I was kind of confused as to how much I needed to put in the tank. So here's what I would suggest, bud. Just use the ounces per gallon rule. If you want, if you're not going to do this, if you're just going to do a fuel correction, but for 100 octane, this would be if you wanted to set off the high octane mode in a Demon, that is exactly 1 ounce per gallon. And that would be, I don't even know where that can, oh, it's Actually, I use it in Sierra and in Foxy to keep the fuel quality good in those things. Octane maintenance, if you will. The reality, though, is that if you're just doing that for a full tank of gas, so if you're going to just put a little bit in the tank on a full tank of gas, for you, it's going to be 18 gallons. Let's say it's really 16, but 16 gallons, I would say put 3 ounces, 4 ounces, and that'll correct your fuel quality issues. When I've done the testing, to kind of fill you in on this, when I did the testing, to correct the fuel quality that was in the car when I had that bad, kind of a funky tank of gas from Buc-ee's, I put in 2 ounces for half a tank of gas, basically. And so that would be equivalent to you running like 4 ounces in your car for a full tank of gas. You can round it up to 5, but 4 is kind of easy to go by for a full tank. And I think it's a 32 ounce. So you'd have 8 shots of putting butane in the car if you went with that ratio. So a couple of ounces for half a tank, 4 ounces for a full tank, and that'll kind of give you an idea for the range that you can get out of that thing if you're correcting for fuel quality. Siren saying K-Car and vans saved Chrysler thanks to the Iacocca. Very true. The funny thing is that the K-Car really, with a 2.2 liter turbo, you can actually build kind of a nasty little hot rod out of that thing. I should know I had one. And I guess that would really be an ES platform, but it's still K-Car derivative. It's Dodge 600. Little notchback looking front wheel drive contraption, but you could get them kind of quick, man. So, at least, quick for way back when, if you will. So, yeah, very first car was forced induction. But, all right, so back to the how I ran 1010. Hopefully that answers some questions for you guys, if you even had the question to begin with. But I wanted to bring forth to you guys the idea of the reason for the limitations of my build, the reason why I'm not going to pull the sway bar, change out brakes, or do all this other stuff. Although I will say that swapping out brakes was kind of on the radar for this car. If I were to do anything in terms of reducing weight, the one thing that I would consider, and it's the only thing that I would consider, would be a move to super stock brakes or 1320 brakes. That would be the only, for the front. I wouldn't change anything on the rear. That would be the only thing that I would change. But keep in mind that would mean that I would have to turn wrenches on a car that's already launching like this. There you go. Get that glare out of here. It's already launching like this. Look at the wrinkles in the back tire. It doesn't have any problem hooking up. It's dragging one of the front tires practically off the ground. The other one's gripping a hold of the track for dear life. So, it's and again, I'll challenge you with the ship of Theseus argument. And again, if you're not familiar with what the ship of Theseus argument is, it's an ancient thought experiment. If you Google it, I don't know how to spell it. I wouldn't even try to stress you out with how to spell it. Just voice to text it into Google. It'll pull up exactly the thought experiment that I'm talking about. And that is basically how much of something can you remove from the original and have it still be the same thing. The short version of that is the grandfather's axe. You can look that one up too. It's just a very shortened version of the ship of Theseus thought experiment. But again, I wanted it to be the car that, let's say they never made a Demon, but they made something out of the Hellcat. My car, in my eyes, is what that would be. And I wanted it to stay within the confines of the as delivered as you would see the car going down the drag strip demon. So to answer the question, am I going to do anything else to the car? Probably not. This thing is already so fun to drive, as happy as it could possibly be, under stressed, and puts a stupid looking grin on my face every time I drive it for whatever reason that I'm driving it. So, you know, to go any faster, it wouldn't be any more fun. And that's the thing. I mean, fast doesn't translate to fun. Fast is just a number. Fun is a feel. Fun is subjective, whereas fast is objective, and at least in this respect. And I don't want to reduce something that I'm so attached to something so objective as to, you know, keep trying to drag numbers down on it. X saying, thank you for explanation. Happy to, man. I'm very happy to. Chuck's asking, doesn't Boostain gum up your plugs with red goo? No, it does not. There's guys that have been running Boostain practically without any hesitation or anything like that for a long time. I know Mean Cat's been running Boostain in his, and the thing is, you're not running a lot of Boostain in these things. The idea is that, I mean, I don't think anybody that's running Boostain that I'm aware of is running it with, well, I don't know, some of the demon guys might be. But I don't know of anybody that's running Boostain that's running it at a concentration that would hurt anything. And I don't even think it would hurt anything if you ran it straight. Discoloration isn't going to hurt anything with the plugs. Nobody with a significant number of thousands of miles of running cars with Boostain has run into any issues or has reported any real issues. And you got to remember, you're talking about an ounce. An ounce is, let's say 2 ounces is about that big. That's about it. That's basically 2 ounces. It's like it's a shot. It's like doing a shot of Cuervo. In 5 to 10 gallons of a pretty significant solvent in gasoline. So it's understandable to think that, well, if you're running this stuff all the time, it might create a problem. It's really not. Again, I know of several cars, the owners run Boostain in those cars for a gas insurance, you know, Octane quality insurance, I should say, and nobody's reported any real issues. Dermy saying, amen, Mason, and your car won't break at every pass if you keep it stock. True that. And that's another thing. So in talking about stock cars in general, I mean, any of them, if you're stock, mildly modified, pull some weight out of them, they're going to be super durable. Modern cars are eerie with the level of durability that they have, given the performance that they deliver. But Hellcats are on a different level when it comes to durability. I have seen Hellcats deal with unimaginable levels of what anybody would consider to be abuse, and they don't consider it apparently to be abuse. It's just another Tuesday in Hellcat land. Because I get it. Look, Hellcats are heavy. Yeah, they're heavy, but they're built like a tank. You don't see failures with Hellcats the way that you see failures with older platforms or other platforms, because they're built like a freaking tank. So there's that. But, you know, the more stock you leave them, the longer they're going to last. And apparently, if you leave Hellcats stock, they seem to last a long time without really anything else other than normal maintenance, which that does remind me, I did change the oil in my car today. Ding, there's that. Oh, Chuck's saying that his plugs did have some red goo on them from Octane Booster. It was Lucas Oil and STP. I can tell you, then he's asking, I guess Boostain would be better than Lucas or other additives. The thing is I personally don't have a lot of Boostain experience. I don't run Boostain in my Hellcat. other than the experiment with data logging it to get an idea for if it does fix short-term knock retard due to fuel quality. But I run it in I run it in the in Foxy, and I run it in Sierra mainly to act as an octane preservative, if you will, because those cars, or that car and that truck, doesn't get driven as much. I don't run it in Chandelier in the Hellcat because, like, right over there, I've got an Exxon station that is really, really good. The fuel quality there is consistently, knock on wood, but the fuel quality is consistently, at least it has been, really good. So I haven't needed to. And you also got to remember, I'm not tuned for it. So if I'm dumping a bunch of butane in my fuel, I'm not getting any benefit of it because I'm not tuning for it. In other words, if I were putting a bunch of butane in the tank and then ramping up timing 2, 3, 4 degrees, trying to get something out of it, capture some power through being able to achieve a higher timing value because I've got a higher knock resistance, then that's what I would be using the butane for. I don't like going around using additives when I don't need the additives. Like, do you use anything in the oil as an oil additive? No. I don't put any additives in anything unless I need them. And if I don't need them, then I'm not going to have something in there. Unless a data log, like I've said before, when I did the data log with my car and I was going, whoa, what's up with all this knock sensor voltage? Threw butane in the thing and it actually chilled it out. And I was surprised by that. I mean, I had heard anecdotally the stuff worked, but I mean, this stuff works. So, and again, you're not using a lot of it. You're not taking and dumping a whole container of something in your gas tank. You're just using a small amount of butane, which again, I'm not a chemical engineer, but I know that the stuff does work. Sovereign said, I can't believe Demonology got as much use out of that Mopar rear diff on the Demon considering the power that thing is throwing down. That says something. Yeah. So guys, the stock components on a Hellcat are beefy. I get it. They're heavy. I know. I've had to lift them. Have you ever lifted one of the half shafts? Bro, I'll tell you what, if someone were to throw me one of the half shafts, you'd knock me through that daggone wall sitting right back there. They are heavy, but they can put up with a ton of abuse. And the Demons are built to handle a lot of abuse and a lot of track use, and it shows. And yeah, I'm surprised that any rear end lasts more than a few hits with that car. His car's making a lot of power. Hey, Sozan saying congratulations on the 1010. Thank you very much. Saying I'm a little bit late. That's all right. Chuck saying, I think I'll stick to no additives and 91 octane for the 5.7. That's all you need for the 5.7. In fact, 5.7s love 89 and 91. I run 89 exclusively in the work truck and also maintain the hell out of that truck. That truck at 100 and I'm looking at it like it's on the other side of a door with a wall, and it's like I can see the thing. And like it's going to look at me and answer a question too. What the hell is wrong with me? Anyway, that truck has almost 150,000 miles on it. It runs better today than it ran when it was brand new. So just saying, but I've run it on 89 octane this entire time. I never let it go below a quarter tank if I can help it. Gets the oil changed at, I believe it's like around 20%, 25% remaining on the onboard oil change thing. I just look at it and go, oh, it's at 25, time to get the oil changed. And let's see, what else? That's it. That's the only maintenance that truck's ever had aside from getting the Hemi tick fixed. That's it for that truck, and it's been a trooper. So yeah, but they do love that grade of fuel. But listen, guys, I'm hoping that I answered some questions for you, whether you had them or not. These are some of the questions that I've been getting hit with. This is some of the things that I've been asked. The seat the sway bar, other weight reducing items like bumper supports, things like that, different brakes. I wanted to not only explain to you guys well, first of all, answer the question, which was stock, basically everything stock. But to give more or less the philosophy of the build and what I was looking to do with my car, with the build that I put together for it. Again, it's just mimicking the playfulness and the fun that you get with a red eye with a 309 gear, mimicking that with the Hellcat platform, but still maintaining stock boost and not really trying to take it any further than that. I'm not going to say that I haven't been tempted to go with, like a 310 upper pulley, pick up another couple of pounds of boost, basically red eye boost the thing. But, and yeah, I would get 9-second time slip out of that, but it wouldn't be the 2015 Hellcat that I've come to know and love so much. And it's just more fun when you do it with stock boost because nobody wants to believe it, and especially not wanting to believe it out of a 15. So there's that. Oh, keep in mind that my car, as far as what kind of power it's made on a dyno, it green screened at 666. She's pretty stout for a 15 anyway. So at least there's that. And that's on a Mustang dyno. But anyway, I'm going to catch up with you guys real quick, and then I am going to check out. Chuck is out saying see ya on the next one. And with that, I'm going to check out too, guys. So thank y'all. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. If you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep her shiny side up. Get out there and do something cool for somebody. Ray, miss you, love your brother. And with that, that is a wrap. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Adios.